Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit's Homebrew. Joining me today is Marcello, as we talk about the community of Omaha and tabletop gaming. Hey folks, welcome back to the Hermit's Homebrew podcast. Joining me today is Marcello Velazquez. I apologize. I got that probably wrong. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying the show, please support our channel. Check our partners in the episode description. You'll find some cool stuff and help support the channel. Tonight's guest is someone who's quietly, not so quietly, among our community, helped shape the entire local scene in Omaha. If you've attended PresCon or NewCon or dived into the DMsGuild or been at one of the local game stores in Omaha, you've probably seen Marcello one time or another, even if you didn't realize it. Organizer, storyteller, and then with the Extra Life Foundation, you're also a mental health advocate and have close to 21 credits just on the DMsGuild alone that we're talking about before we started recording. For anyone kind of wanting to do the same with like getting to that area, do you have any like recommendations?
Well, certainly, don't. I tell you to. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking at first when you're looking. I tell you to take your time, kind of learning about all the nuances of the DMsGuild and other places for where you can publish your work. It's really important to make sure that you going in what they may require of you to publish. There can be a misconception that I can publish when you decide to use one of these platforms to publish your work, that you can publish anything. But with most things, there are certain standards that come with publishing work on these forums, and it's important to be aware of those before you go in.
What are some of those standards that people might not know?
Well, I think there may be certain subjects maybe that require content warnings.
Yeah.
Certain subjects are definitely would be considered taboo. And I would also say that certain formats for the writing too. Some depending on the platform, you may be limited in how whether or not you provide a Word document or a PDF, or embed videos and links and stuff in your materials. Those type of things. And also, I know at least with the DMsGuild, I have the majority of my experience in publishing to the DMsGuild has been mostly in D&D organized play products, and with that, there are certainly some extra guidelines on top of just the platform itself, style guides, certain ways of saying, writing things, and expressing the content in the speak of the system that you're working in. Particularly, just making sure we're using the right D&D language when we're describing things, and that we're using their standards as far as awards and creatures and balance and things like that, because they do like to have
Uniformity.
Uniformity amongst the products in some way.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, especially with Wizards, and I'm trying to think who else runs the DMsGuild. I know there's the drive-through RPG, which is closely
Drive through RPG.
related to it,
Sure.
but that's more for other TTRPGs.
For other RPGs, and then also for products in the D&D space that are being written under the current systems required documents in the OGLs. That's a whole monster discussion right there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Uh, Going over your personal experience a bit while kind of beefing up for this interview, I noticed that you have like a background in mental health, especially
I
advocating
do.
for that and in your personal and professional life. How has that shaped the way you run a table?
Thank you for that question. I'd say that it it definitely gives me a little bit more awareness of the dynamics that you see with players coming to the table, and trying to ensure that you're meeting their needs as a player at the table, as well as should uh, making sure that you're also trying to find ways within the game to spur on cohesion at the table. That way, everyone is being respectful of each other's spaces, and they are coming together and at the table to bring uh, um, a collaborative game together.
You definitely hear how like D&D has helped, especially like in therapeutic settings and helping people kind of get out of their shell, or even giving them maybe those real life experiences they might not otherwise for social interaction and teaching them problem solving skills. Especially, I know on this podcast we're all kind of first responders or on that kind of front line, so we try and use those extreme problem solving issues and try and apply them to our like advice and let everyone know that just because maybe your table falls apart, it ain't the end of the world. You just, it
Mhm.
might be a little bit before you find another table.
Sure, I think that's very important to. But I would say that too. Certainly, um, that even if you're not in those spaces, in those helper professions where uh, the the experience, and perhaps of your own personal experience, or the wisdom of your peers, to kind of help guide you through situations. It's important to know that even without the expertise that you may, there are still skills that you can apply just in general interaction with someone that could help facilitate a positive experience at the table. In case you do have a someone that joins you that may be working through some things.
Exactly. Has like working in that therapeutic setting, I assume with even younger people like teens, has that produced any like unrespected results?
I have not seen anything. I guess I've been fortunate. But I have yet to see any have any experience with that. I do. You do just need to be aware of who you have at your table, and uh, in my experience with younger players, I find that I uh, well, need to be a little bit more prepared for anything, and also maybe tune down, maybe adjust the way that the presentation is given. I mean, you want to, it's basically there has to be a shift. Um, I'll say, for example, this is an example. I mean, we can, if I'm sitting here with some adult players, maybe my narratives will be more Tolkien-esque, But
Yeah,
if I do have children at the table, maybe I got to bring it down to bring it down to I don't want to say a cartoon level, but maybe we need to engage the story like at a fairy tale level, or at a level that is where whatever nuances that 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 the that will engage your younger players and keep them focused. Will do.
I know even in my personal home game and like session zeros, I've talked about it before, especially like I give like a list of questions, and one of the questions is like, what TV shows, what movies are you into that might help, especially if you're a new player with me, that might help me kind of connect with you. That way I know what you're kind of expecting out of this or what your level of like nuance is. Like, I had one player, particularly at our table, that had no fantasy experience whatsoever. It was like her introduction to the fantasy genre, and it was like speaking Greek to her at first. Like
Hmm.
she wouldn't know the difference between, like, let's say a harpy from a cyclops, or that's both Greek, but
Oh yeah, I totally can get that. But I would say that having a player who is there with you for a first time experience or with little to no knowledge can also be um, can also be a delight. It For a GM, because it kind of puts you more on your toes, and it also it also reminds you of the time when you were there, and you may now, man, how can I bring this person into the fold and provide them an experience that brings them back, and or evokes a willingness to learn more. Hey, I really had a good time. I want to learn more. And um, yeah, just I think that's a having a new player uh, may kind of set that into motion for you.
I know personally, like from experience, if I can find some sort of real life comparison, like it goes like this, just like in our world, but it goes like this, or this is a magical version of this.
Mhm.
For instance, that player couldn't quite understand what a bag of holding was, and I go, imagine just a satchel, but when you open it, it's about the size of a 50-foot cubic refrigerator, because that's how it's actually described on the inside, and a deep freeze almost. It's that size inside, and you can just that's how much you can shove inside this little satchel, and then it clicked right forward.
Yeah, that's a good example of that. I know for me, it sometimes when you get into you get a table that has a mixture of different experiences, and you run an encounter. You may fire it off. Well, okay, you have a group of let me see. Let me just use a very obscure creature. Uh, you have a group of devourers,
Yeah.
and then half the table will be like, "Oh wow, oh man, devourers, dude, we're in trouble," that sort of thing. And then one player's like, "Well, what's a devourer? Why are we in trouble?" And then that's when you like, well, imagine this, or you get into the description. That I think that having um, being able to describe the creatures in a way, and then also relate them, like you said, to something that they might know, or even in that list of movies or TV shows, there might have been something that you might be able to quickly associate with that can help the player immerse the player in the experience.
I know I do have one player at my table that has 2 decades worth of experience. He's been playing since Wizards bought it back on third edition. And
Gotcha.
the best way I can describe is when he's with people that have been playing less than 5 years and he sees a monster that he knows, and I'm not naming them by name, but just by description. It's that scene you were mentioning, Lord of the Rings, where Gandalf sees the Balrog coming and he knows what's coming, and those hobbits have no clue. They just see this guiding light coming towards them, and he's like, we have to run.
Yeah. And also having having players that also have those type of experiences too can be a great help to a DM too when you are where you are working with new players too. In case you get stumped or you're like, oh man, they're always someone that you can turn to. I always take advantage of the players that might have a little bit more experience than me. It doesn't happen very often anymore, but it does. Sometimes it happens. Or if you have a player that might be a little bit more enmeshed in obscure rules that maybe you haven't you can't recall, or you just haven't come across.
How long have you been playing?
Okay. Well, I've been playing since I was a kid, probably about 10 years old. I started back with basic D&D, and basic D&D is a Moldvay basic,
Yeah.
The red and turquoise D&D books, I think they were.
Yeah.
Moldvay and Expert. But I did play there. My start was there. So, but I did have a lull in my gaming experiences, which almost coincidentally line up with uh, my entering into the service and serving my country and stuff. So that kind of was put to the side for a little bit. Then I ran into a crowd, when I was in the service, and we picked up around 3.5.
Oh, nice.
And yep, picked up about 3.5. And we ran with that, and then eventually our careers took us away from the game, and I missed out entirely on fourth edition. But by the time I came back, I'll go ahead.
Oh no, I was just asking, what's it like playing with a bunch of like enlisted army guys or whatever service you were in?
Yeah. Well, I was in the Air Force, but I did a lot of joint work, so I had plenty of experience working along my my other fellow services there. But D&D was, you get people together to throw dice, and it's like, we kind of forget ourselves. We forget our little rivalries and nudges, and it's all business. It's all about the game. But yeah, definitely, you definitely have a sweeping uh, a sweeping range of different player styles. But it for the most part, it was like I would play with groups that kind of liked a more narrative focused play, and kind of light mechanics. And then I'd play with guys that really enjoyed the crunch, and we just we get into counter building and just more tactical and combat oriented games.
This episode's been brought to you by... In the age of sagas and songs, don't let your next TTRPG be left to the Norns alone. Let the fate of your character be carved in runes and cast in metal, liquid core, or prismatic glass. Let the players of your table wield dice worthy of Odin, Thor, Loki, and yes, Heimdel. Heimdel Dice, dice worthy of guarding the Bifrost with. Claim the glory of Valhalla with HeimdelDice.com. Heimdel Dice, the official Nordic dice of the Hermit's Homebrew podcast. Alright, tabletop gamers, go dive into our favorite Goblin Run little workshop. The sparks have been flying, and these little maniacs at the Wicked Goblin crew have just relaunched their store. It's packed with killer merch and literally dozens of different designs on almost anything you'd need at your gaming night, from shirts to drinking glasses to dice trays, and even totes to carry it all away at the end of the game night. And now they're rolling up to the table with us at the Hermit's Homebrew podcast. It's like your own personal goblin craftsman dressing up your game night. I find as time goes on and you find those different like groups, it kind of really, as a dungeon master, game master, lore keeper, whatever game you're playing, it really kind of beefs up your experience. And
Sure.
like you get better running into all those different people, especially in convention settings. You've like
Sure.
written, I'm sure, well, more than 24 things and you're probably playtesting it, and like a convention setting I've heard is probably the best place to playtest it because you're running into all the different types of play styles that will more than likely break things that you never would have expected.
That is that's true. I would tell you that a convention setting is definitely one that challenges any person that's willing to present an event, regardless of the system or the settings, simply because of what you mentioned. You don't know who you're getting at the table until they show up, and then even in that, maybe when you're with your home crew and you're doing your thing, you have the luxury of knowing who's showing up. You know their styles. You know what they want. Hopefully, you know what they want out of their game already. You know how to get under their skin and challenge them as players, and also and the themes that kind of spur them into their immersion, right? But at the con, you don't get that unless you get return players. After a while, you get into your con circles, and you start getting return players, which is also a wonderful thing. Somebody says, hey, I had a great time at so and so's table. I can't wait till next year. I'll look for their name again and see if I can get it on their events, that type of thing. But
I know
yes,
one. Oh, go ahead.
no, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just mentioning about like NewtCon last year. I was running the Tomb of Horrors because it was like the 50th anniversary of D&D. What better
Yes,
time to play
yes,
one of the more infamous things? And
wonderful.
the person that did the most unexpected thing, you were talking about children, and they look at the game differently than more traditional players might. And it was a young girl with her dad who maybe played less than a half a dozen sessions. And she went in the places that most other players would not go. She did not know what to expect, but it was the funnest experience with her because she was going through those motions of learning what to do or what not to do, especially going through a misty archway that looks
The
foreboding.
art. I'm curious how you handle that. How did that end up turning out?
She gender swapped 2 or 3 times and then lost her armor.
Yeah.
And it all got thrown into Acer Rat's
Uh,
uh, horde at the end, I guess would be the correct terminology.
sure. You I had relating on that experience. My experience with the Tomb of Horrors, over the years, I've played it on 3 different occasions. Two in a AD&D in the original setting, the original uh, uh, edition of it,
Yeah.
and then I played the 5th edition version of it. And every game that I had of it went differently. I'm fairly in my follow through games. I made sure that I compartmentalized. Yeah, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Where hey, I believe I know what could be happening here eventually, but in game, I'm going to let the rest of the people at the table um, indulge the experience and do what I can to support, or try to interact in a way where I'm not um, the trigger or the spoiler um, for the encounter, uh, whether it be trap, a creature, or any other threat or any other challenge that the players may experience.
I would
But
say I've done that playing like a character that's a little bit more ignorant than I would expect them to be, just where you don't ruin somebody else's fun because you kind of
exactly.
know what's going to happen.
And I think going back to those challenges that you talked about, um, other than um, not knowing players, or you get you may get somebody that already knows, right? Kind of already knows what's going on. Maybe have a new character but playing the same thing over,
Yeah.
and that type of player can be challenging too. simply
It
because
really can.
yeah, the tendency to want to say, "Oh, I know," or "Oh, don't do that." And it's like that's when after a while you kind of give them the look and like, "Hey, man, I know you know, but let's think about the table."
I know I did warn the table last year that I had changed certain things because I knew a couple of them had been playing before.
Yeah, it's very hard. When you talk about the Two More Horrors,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very hard. I mean, when you play those classics, you're going to have somebody that wants to reminisce or may have heard just in being in the community about, oh, I heard this is like the most deadliest dungeon in dungeon crawl in all of D&D, and it they may carry that into your session.
I did read that you run, I believe, a campaign that spanned 5 years plus or 5 years.
Oh, yes, I did. We I had a group of players that I had they were kind of all spread out, um, not here locally. And this is about the time that the advent of VTTs, like the one we're talking about, especially this one, because this is the one that I was like, okay, I want to learn this because I want to bring all of my friends together. If because that always seems to be the thing. I was like, well, what if I could find a way to bring us all together? And yeah, and I did. And we did that. We found everyone was able to get discorded in, and that's how we I was able to bring my friends together, and how we were able to hold on to our campaign. Eventually life did eventually get create a little bit of challenges for us, but we had a good streak running, close to 5 years.
Dang. Yeah, I just finished up a 3 year, and that's the longest one I've ever played. Uh, I know you've worked with the Extra Life Foundation. What do you find more difficult? Is it like organizing a convention or organizing that weekly game or bi-weekly game for 5 years?
I would say I've been fortunate in that when it comes to charity games, there's always been somebody that I've been able to work with, and especially here in Omaha, um, we're fortunate in that we do have uh, one. We're fortunate in that we do have a guild, uh, which is I guess an organization outside of actual children's that does help raise money for our local children's hospital through Extra Life events, and we and in order to effectively do that, we have a person in charge as like a coordinator. So I've been fortunate in that there's always been a coordinator that's reached out, um, and and that was years ago when that happened. I was invited to one game day at Children's Omaha, and I went there, and it just had such a profound effect on me, um, that I was like, "Yeah, this is what I'm. I feel like this is something I want to get behind and support as much as I can." And so, as fortune would have it, um, eventually, as I was coming into D&D organized playing and reaching out to the wizards component of that, the WotC component of that, I learned that they too also have a relationship with Extra Life, and through that relationship, they are able to uh, provide us tools within our organized play games to help us raise money for Extra Life, and in our for Extra Life through the convention. And it normally takes the form of re-roll tickets and or be a special certificate that that they produce that provides some unique benefit uh, for uh, for those at the convention, a unique opportunity, or sometimes those they can take the form of a boon, or maybe they really like those familiars, because I know that this our younger our I'd probably say there's a big portion of the current generation of player that really loves those animals and those familiars and those, so a lot of what they provide for charity kind of falls in that sphere. Do you want that? Dragon wormling plushie to carry with you, or do you want do you want I think what's another one, like a little tiny mini beholder kind of flying around with you, accosting everybody. And I remember even in the uh, going beyond that, but they were really big on animals too. There were goats, like all different kinds of goats, tressums, the flying cats. Uh, Definitely a whole bunch of uh, charity only type
Oh, really? Like exclusive?
certs that exclusive, exactly, that they could give your organized play tables if you were raising money for Extra Life. So that's a kind of a unique, that's kind of a wonderful benefit uh, to players, and also it kind of spurs on ways that they can donate through play.
How do you think like TTRPGs in the Omaha area, or even just in general, are positioned to do good in the world, like that sort of stuff with the Extra Life Foundation
The worldwide,
or with mental
the Extra
health or anything like that? Like you said, it seemed like when you did the children's charity, you got that aha moment of like, okay, this is what it's when it comes down to it. It's more than just rolling dice with your friends. This is also a very great avenue for doing that, of reaching out and making somebody that might not feel included feel included.
I would certainly say that I haven't I haven't really seen it too much, but I do. Um, I think we have a thriving community uh, in um, in RPG here. Uh, we if participation in forums are any indication, um, I would say our community numbers in the thousands. We're somewhere in that bunch. Um, and I would say that with that number and the vehicles that we have to promote causes, I think that we're postured. We could be postured pretty well to be, and not just from the D&D angle, from any angle, to be able to dive into fundraising for many of the causes that that would benefit our city. I know that um, I've even done charity events for some of the local shelters.
Really?
Yeah, that's a possibility too. I used to do. I haven't done it. I think we hit a wall at COVID, but I would say that before that, every holiday I was putting together a special charity event um, to raise money for uh, two two places that are near dear to me. I have of the experience of working there at Sienna Francis House, and also over at the Stevens Center there in South Oak, as both a volunteer and also a counselor. And I thought it would be wonderful to be able to raise money to support their causes. They're nonprofits, so um, just and I thought, well, what a wonderful way then having an exclusive event where you could either bring in a donation of some type of clothing or food to be able to get a seat at a game, and then provide like tiered type of um, uh, tiered type of I don't want to say benefits, but tiered type of experiences, like being able to pick your own DM, uh, uh, re-rolls. I can't remember what else, but we also had like uh, and maybe raffle tickets for a drawing of some sort. But either way, those events, both times that we ran them, went over very well. And I don't see. Um, they do involve having you know, having a rapport with the local community, and especially your local gaming stores, uh, to be able to to work with them to one, find a time that would work for them to use their store as the hub for that particular experience. But and I'd say that we have there are plenty of places here, plenty of LGSs. I that I'm aware of that these experiences could serve as a hub for. Just involves a willingness and and a means to be able to get the word out there.
I do feel, and I've mentioned this, I don't know how many times online, that Omaha, despite that it has such a good community, it's just still not even well known how much of a hidden gem it is. And like, it's, I can't even describe it. Like the Omaha community, I've been around a couple of other city communities, but primarily Omaha, and I've from talked to other people's communities about how they don't have anything. I don't know how many times I've tried to kind of like sell Omaha, like come to Omaha. This is a great community. Like it's a hidden gem just because people work together so much. Whether it's Dragon's Lair over on 90th, or you got Game Shoppy in Bellevue or Omaha. Primarily Bellevue with Becky. She's absolutely amazing, and she's at almost every con representing us.
Yeah, that is very true. Short and loud, as I like to call her, is she definitely is a she definitely is a very powerful voice out for the community and in all gaming, I dare say.
I've said it more than once. Shop in Bellevue is probably one of my more favorite local game stores. There, it's a hard competition. Not saying it's single handedly just them, but they are it for me. And it's mostly because of her
They
and
are.
Norm and all of them at that shop. They just have that community and know how to make people in TTRPGs and gaming, what maybe not even RPGs, just feel welcome.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Now that's not to say that um, I don't um, I don't frequent very many of the local stores. I probably should, but I'm mostly involved in the South O, Bellevue, and every once in a while I'll get out to the shop out in West O. But I know that there are other stores out there that also offer experiences. I think I've been to Spielbound a
Oh
few
yeah.
times too, but not necessarily for RPG, but just board gaming in general. And then the cons. If anything, we do have conventions that 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 offer these experiences too. And I would say that in kind of piggybacking off of that you brought up about the community being um, a hidden gem. I said I truly believe that to be the case. We have uh, a very active community. We in many respects, there are actually um, several, I would say, what I would call prominent creators in RPG that live right here in this area. Uh,
Yeah.
that um, that
And you wouldn't even know it.
and you wouldn't even know it. and it's but you don't see too many of them um, in the local RPG spaces or the gaming spaces, simply by nature of their work, or by nature of them traveling outside of Omaha to go to those areas where where they do promote. Maybe it's hey, I'm at home. I don't want to get away from all that. Maybe just want to relax and kind of keep to myself. But we certainly could thrive from our hometown heroes.
You're one of the few people that I found, we were talking about creators, have touched every part of the hobby, whether it's like organizing or writing or playing, mentoring, dungeon mastering. What right now do you find gives you the most satisfaction, whether it be in the community or at the table?
Wow. I like it all, but if I had to pick one thing, I would say I enjoy the mentoring of other designers. I enjoy leading projects, basically taking on the role of I guess what would be akin to maybe like a producer, an organizer. I guess there you go,
Yeah.
there you go. Maybe and helping out, just kind of overseeing things and letting other people take the spotlight on those other roles. Um, but I do. That's not to say that I don't like occasionally diving in. I still design. I'm still doing work out there in the community. I'm still organizing. I'm still mentoring. Um, doing a little bit of all those things, but not necessarily being tied to one. In fact, one thing I don't normally do often is game demoing, and I'm doing that here at the Ocon Expo here coming up
Oh,
this weekend.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
'Cause
starts
I do.
here in the next weekend or two.
No, yeah, this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I believe. I'm yeah, I enjoy board games and card games too. So I also I also like to I also try to take opportunities when I get them to be able to indulge that.
So, as I was mentioning, I did do some research for this. You did like a little blurb on Arcadia Magazine, and you said you were talking about like designing things, and you said that you'd love to write for one major RPG source book one day. So if WotC or any third party publisher, really, especially since OGL kind of just blew open the doors for everyone to kind of step in with their own system right now, whether it be Shadow Dark or Tales of the Valiant or Pathfinder 2e, what type of world or campaign would you find yourself trying to pitch to one of these people?
Oh wow. um wow. That's that could go in so many directions. I've been a really big I've been influenced by many other RPG visionaries, right? I mean, let's just go ahead and say, and I've spent most of my time in RPGs working within um, their vision. That I honestly really haven't thought too much about the what my vision would be if I were ever to have the opportunity to do that. But since you asked,
Please do.
I think that I would probably want to do something that was low fantasy, I would say. Maybe something a little bit more low fantasy, and not epic. Um, but maybe the epic thing is the ending.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is um, the story of the little guy, or the adventures when they weren't adventures. Just kind of their adventures were just more mundane, but every once in a while there was a burst of something exciting, right? Or eventually a one of those cataclysmic epic things um, were to uh, were to descend upon their village or their town or wherever they lived. Um, Something like that, where it's not they're not part of that big epic thing, but they take a little small part in um, in events that result from the big thing. And not something also that I've been contemplating too is maybe a setting where the um, that focuses on one realm, just one realm that's existed in some type of bubble, and one day they're living in this bubble and they're living their insular lives, and uh, and they're kind of closed off to the world as they know it, because as they travel through the world, and almost like a Truman Show esque kind of thing, they get to
Okay.
the edge and maybe come across uh, and what they believe to be, the world continuing just brings them back to where they're at, kind of a thing. But one day that all breaks down, and they find, or maybe that bubble starts to crack, and then the world outside, which is very, very, very um, um, cataclysmic, starts to seep in, and and it ends up shocking every system that they have within uh, the bubble, and eventually it gets to the point where they have to merge out with um, the world at large beyond their bubble that is filled with uh, many dangers. Like the world, but that world's been going ongoing while this world's been in this bubble. Um, and it's basically two worlds kind of colliding.
Now, are you being literal, like multiverse? Or are you talking about like this continent has been isolated from the rest of the world?
Isolated from the rest of the world. They're all part of the same world, except
Okay.
somehow this little space. And to the people on the outside, this space also, they experience something um very similar to those inside. They go to this area, and then it's just transparent to them. It simply looks like they're moving through their world, but this world has been right here. Um, and they're like maybe passing, hitting the shell of the world and coming out on the other side of that shell in their world, not actually going
Okay.
inside. Maybe it could be the result of some, um, maybe the result of some powerful magic that maybe an ancestor within the bubble might have created to isolate them from the, you know, from the whole, from the harsh realities of the world abound. And
I've seen some like Norse mythology do that with like a curse of Jormungandr type thing, where
Mhm.
Jormungandr put a curse on the ocean or the nine realms, where they couldn't travel to the other nine realms, and they're stuck to their continent. And then for some reason or another, it went away. And then now they're able to travel to the 7, 10 continents of the world, and then they're able to travel to the other nine realms and realize that they are just a goldfish now in a big sea.
or something big for a setting like that could just simply be one person. This one person shows up from one of those other realms. Maybe washes up on the shore. Maybe just uh, shows up on a ship and goes in there and does the whole Columbus thing. Hey, in the name of the, I'm like, wait a minute, who the hell are all these people? Kind of a thing. That would definitely be a shocker too. Hey, who's that? There's a strange man running around, or a strange person. Where are they from? And it turns into, wait a minute, where's that person from? Hey, wait a minute, they're from the Forbidden Land. Well, we're not. how did they get here? I thought the god said that we can't do that. Yet there's someone here, you know. Something as small as one person showing up could send reverberations throughout the. Could be an adventure in themselves. Just that one person could say, "Well,
That would be a fun, like if you took it from a fantasy genre point of view of actually telling it like in comparison of from the Native Americans point of view of when the Europeans came over and what their point of view of it was. Even a historical TV show that would be amazing, but from a fantasy point of view, it could be just as much fun.
yeah, you know, and you know, thinking about that, I kind of, or it could be maybe somebody that may have a tie to that region who's who maybe lived in this the other region when all this, you know, when all this separation happened, and says, "What do you mean? I'm one of your ancestors. We live over here," you know, kind of a thing, and and that could cause you know, that could definitely cause some frictions at breaking beliefs, you know, and then allowing people's in your fantasy worlds uh motives and minds to be around the possibility of something beyond their what they know. Uh, that could kind of be exciting, or you know, even I suppose even threats that have in, may there may be incursions of those type of threats into that the people simply aren't familiar with. They haven't dealt with them.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, hey, maybe one place like, oh yeah, this is you know, or maybe people from those regions, they come in your world and they see a goblin, they're like, oh, you know, it's like, they may freak out and then run for the hills when, you know, the people in that room will be like, oh, you know, this is a goblin. They may not be, you know, they may not see what the big deal is, I guess. But experiences like that where it's just unfamiliarity can be just as fear of the unknown. There you go.
I was going to ask, like, what other have you ventured out to other cons, like major ones, like a Gen Con or a Dragon Con or anything like that?
Okay. Um, Thank you for asking that question. And the answer is when I first started, I stayed here locally,
Yeah.
just sweeping primarily north. And when I say north, I mean like Sioux City, maybe get up to Minneapolis. Um, but eventually, I did span out. I do support what I would say two major conventions. Also, as a writer, a DM, a project lead. I do help facilitate the organized play at GaryCon,
Really?
um, as a DM, as an author, as all the things, and then also at GameholeCon as well in Madison, Wisconsin.
I've
I've
heard
been
of both.
I've been um, a start supporter, and now I've been embedded in those at those conventions in a more organizing capacity now for maybe close to 6-7 years. Help write adventures for the conventions. Help organize the writers um, for the conventions, and now I'm getting to and also occasionally running events at the cons too, um,
Yeah.
when I can. But other those are the big two. Um, I did go out to the West Coast one time for Big Bad Con. I don't think
Oh,
that con is around anymore, but I went
I've
out
heard of it
there.
though.
Yeah, I went out there for a uh, more of a mentoring experience because I was fortunate that I was selected as to be part of a uh, I had won a creator scholarship, which basically allows a creator to go to Big Bad Con during their meet and greet, and um, forget what they called it. But basically, I went there and I got to meet industry heads in RPG.
Nice.
And I also either put my resume in front of them and see if they had anything for me, or actually sit down and have mentorship and go into a mentorship relationship with them. And through that, I had some wonderful opportunities pop up and just some eye-opening experience that eventually, some of them led to relationships that that have led to opportunities and continue to do so still. Um, I think one of the I literally, this was back when Jeremy Crawford was still with WotC. I literally sat down right next to him, and we just talked about what I could bring as a freelancer to the Wizards Tower. Fortunately, at the time they were really looking for freelancers to do work, but I was able to get an audience with him, and they um and I did have enough experience to get follow up, which I thought was wonderful. I got follow up emails with Chris Perkins, and also Jeremy Crawford and Bill Bannerman, a couple of them. So and just told hey, your name's on the Rolodex. I in my experience in play testing too. That's one thing I did bring up. I've play tested a lot of things for WotC over the past 10 years. That most of it is now is out and about, and some of it never made the cut, maybe. But through that too, I was able to forge relationships, and get my my work out there and to be seen at least by them. But going back to that particular opportunity, I was able to get opportunities to present my work to other third-party publishers, and that eventually led to some wonderful opportunities outside of the of that. Well, would I be able to speak to those, or would you?
If you wanted to,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, I was able to. I was able to begin writing for Renegade Game Studios, and one of my favorite IPs as a kid for the GI Joe game, GI Joe role playing game. I've written some adventures for that game. I have a mentorship relationship with Ed Greenwood.
Really?
I'm not sure if you. Yeah, I do. And in that, I'm able to reach out to him, and if I need advice on anything, I don't normally badger him, but I do have a conduit to him now that I simply just I dreamed, of one day of being able just to be able to speak to him. Now I can text him. It's like, hey, well, of course I've got a flavor too. Oh, wise and mage of Shadowdale, can you impart wisdom on blah 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 blah? And eventually I get here back and say, oh, intrepid adventure, blah blah blah, and then there goes the spell on what it is I need. But if everything works out, right? Yeah, if everything works out, he's going to be doing some. And I've actually worked with him. We've collaborated on some projects that those I can't really talk about right now, but they're on the horizon. They'll eventually get out to the community, and the reins will be loosened on me for that. But yeah, it's
I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait to share them with you all as well.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. Please go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, like, you were talking about how you started off with basic D&D and you had that lull period, and then you came back 3.5 and it kind of built from there. But like, you hear all these stories of the old guard, Ed Greenwood, or the people that started out, that the fall of TSR, they kind of had that lull were, and then they came back, whether it was third or fifth, this with Stranger Things and all that,
Mhm.
and Critical Role, kind of just reinvigorating. I find that most people came back of the old guard around the 2010 time before it really popped off, and then it popped off. But it's just kind of interesting that you've had kind of that same arc as a lot of these people that have been playing for such a long time. And I think a lot of people in our community have that kind of same story of they have that lull and then they come back and then they remember, oh, this is originally why I got into it.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I mean, you're gonna within that old guard as you talk, there 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 is a vast font of wisdom and experience there uh, that that certainly can benefit the community today. But there is also there are certain challenges that come with that too, when you have for lack of a better term, I just call it generational clash. Just um, trying to sync your wisdom and knowledge in with the expectations of a new generation of players and that sort of thing. That can often be challenging, but I think where the rubber meets the road on uh, and in that is in the bottom line, which is um, what can we do to make the game fun, even if we're reaching back into our experiences from the 80s when we came up. What can I do to make an experience like I remember it, uh, merge of immersion, that 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 brings people to the table, regardless of when you were at the height of your play. And I think that uh, I think that having that experience and a willing of embracing the core of what RPGs are uh, to us collectively is outlets for outlets for for collaborative storytelling, outlets for to build friendships and memories from. I think that they that if we stay focused on that as our overall goal, I believe that um that every one of every one of our RP creative predecessors, those that have paved the road for many of us, uh, still have a very important part in forging the road ahead for not only those that came after them, but even those uh, several generations after them. We're going to be playing. I'm certain we're going to be playing RPGs. You know, as long as I can get out of the chair or and get to a table, I'll be that'll be something in my life for as long as I can have it. And I'm certain that and I one thing I'm going to want to see is I want to see generations behind us at tables too, having the same amount of enjoyment, even if it's not if it's even if it's not tempered in what I find enjoyable is just seeing people together and laughing and just having a good time, or sharing in a collaborative experience that that only you can get from RPGs is it can be enjoyable in itself. It helps it helps keep the community flourishing, uh, moving, and I think that's
I think it really like gets back to that primal thing of like, not to sound like one of those guys, but that caveman around the fire when our species would share those stories. And
sure.
it's now the modern day version of that almost. And that's why I think why it's so popular among those people that play those.
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention that because even that what you're describing there is that's not it. That's just one way of doing it, right? I mean, we have there are plenty of RPGs there that that are much like that, or are very immersive narrative experiences, and there are some uh, have that with mechanics and such, and then
Yeah.
there are some that have um, uh, other unique meta or other unique aspects of it.
I only have a couple more questions and then I'll let you go. But
Sure.
you were talking about as you're expanding out in the con, and I don't even have this question kind of mapped out. I just actually want to know when you started mapping out and going to the different states and the different cons, what was that moment where you finally got to meet somebody? You were talking about like sitting next to Jeremy Crawford or Chris Perkins and talking with them. What was that first person that I'm actually meeting, insert name here? Oh my goodness, this is somebody I've heard about since I was a kid.
Oh, that would have to be Ed Greenwood if I had to say anybody. When I finally met him, I was uh, I was pretty much my jaw was on the ground pretty much. And of all places, I didn't even meet him at the con. I met him at the hotel while he was walking to the con. I happened to
Really?
be walking to the con, and I bumped into him in the hallway heading to the con, and I babbled. I babbled when I first talked to him. I was like, "Oh, Mr. Greenwood." He was like, "Slow down, slow down." Um, and I just spilled it. I was like, "I have been a fan of your work, and I just went off, and he was like, "Walk with me," and so I walked with him uh, to the convention until we had to break away so he could go to the hall that he was going to be at to do his thing. But yeah, I was just like, "Oh my god, I had a conversation with Ed Greenwood," and yeah, and then I said, I really wish I would have brought, and I started firing off all my favorites, right? I said, I really wish I would have brought one of them for you to sign. He said, well, there's always next year. And then guess what happened next year? I did. I brought one, and he's like, oh, hey, there you are. It's like, you're not babbling this time, kind of a thing, right? And then that's led to just constant bump running into him or just um, speaking to him now. I Yeah, that's definitely one relationship that has flourished there. Chris Perkins, same thing. Not so much stammering though, more like I just walking right up to him and just talking to him. Um, if you, I can tell you for a fact that that man is one cool cat. He
Is he?
definitely is, and he is very approachable, and he remembers. There maybe one or two times that we ran into each other. Um, it was me, kind of chasing him down because he was on his way to stuff. But I think the past two or three times, he actually has seen me and then come to my table while I'm running, and the players would be like, "Oh, oh my god!" They'd just be starstruck, and he'd come up and say, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And I think the last time there, I jokingly had talked about, "Hey, what you got on the laptop there, Miss Chris? What do you got on that laptop over there? You mind if mind if I kind of take a look?" He goes, "No, no, 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 can't." It's like you can't part with the laptop. I said, "No, well, I mean, if you got to run to the bathroom or something, you can leave your laptop here at the table. You know, take care of it for you, kind of a thing." So my Chris Perkins story, I was willing to watch his laptop for him, but he was like, "No, no, 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 can't go, can't do that."
I was
But yeah,
explaining on another podcast that like what Matt Mercer is for a lot of the newer crowd. When I got into D&D back in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, like with his Acquisitions Incorporated live plays, because he was really, in my opinion, the first one doing live plays before anyone else.
yep,
Like Chris
I believe so.
Perkins is my Matt Mercer. He was the dungeon master that it's like I want to be like him. I want to
And
I
my
have
friend,
that fun. I want to bring that to the table.
you and I sync up perfectly then because Chris Perkins is my D&D hero. He is. I as a designer, um, his one of the very few articles that he wrote on is simply called "How to Design Adventures." I keep underneath the plexiglass in my working area as my gospel. I adhere to it. I still design in that manner too. Um, and I'm about to get emotional here, but yeah, I really hold that man in high regard. Maybe more than
Same.
I need to. He definitely has done a lot for the community and is continuing to do so. I mean, he's wearing a different hat now, but I guarantee you, he's not that man's impact on the community is not done yet. He is still going to make do wonderful things there over in Darrington for the
Yeah, when
critical.
he announced his retirement, like, well,
I
retirement, I knew that it wasn't going to last long, despite whatever is or happening at Wizards of the Coast. I won't get into that because that can just be a rant in itself. But I knew he was going to land on his feet. That man is
it
such
would
a
seem like
font.
it would definitely seem like a a very saddening waste of talent. Sort of like what we were talking about earlier. Uh, a font of wisdom and experience is leaving. Surely that can't be it. Surely there has to be something else, right? And yeah, and Pop, oh, well, from Darrington now, kind of a thing. That's really cool. But definitely, he's done a lot of things, and has created a lot of wonderful visions, for Dungeons and Dragons. Um, I would also say, if we're getting on about Matt Mercer, one thing I first encountered Matt Mercer when he was actually doing shorts for Dungeons and Dragons. He was doing these videos called they were part of a setting a group called Force Grey. There was the giant hunters, and he did these little shorts.
I remember
They were like,
those.
yeah, they were maybe about half an hour long, very short. And I was like, man, this guy really. I mean, he's got a good vibe to him. Good narrator. I said, so I just became intrigued with him. I had no idea that he was involved with the Critical Role. I didn't know anything about Critical Role. I know Matt Mercer from this, and
Yeah.
so when I heard about that Critical Role, and then I was like, oh, I know that guy. He's the guy from the Force Grey, and then I saw that. Oh, there's a whole. I was like, wow, they're gonna light this community on fire, and they sure did. And
Oh, yeah. That energy that they project is just infectious, and that's part of the reason why it helped bring this community to another level.
I truly believe it. I think it might have been the catalyst that just kind of lit things up in the community and brought the game to the more in the spotlight and brought more people into the community, even if it's just at a basic surface level. It's kind of curious.
I just got one more final one. I try and ask. I usually ask my friends this at the table when I'm trying to do a session 0, just to kind of get to know the feeling of them. And since people are listening to this, it'll kind of give them a feeling of where it began for you. What was your first introduction to the fantasy genre? Like the very first. For me, it was Final Fantasy 1 back on the NES. That was my, and then I was hooked to the fantasy genre ever since.
Oh wow. Do you mean in terms of RPGs or video games
No,
or
no,
movies?
the genre itself, the thing
Oh,
that
John.
hooked you in and then eventually brought you to RPGs, I assume, because I assume RPGs wasn't your gateway drug
Sure,
to the fantasy, but
sure.
that initial thing.
Wow. I'm gonna have to say Dragon Slayer. Not Dragon's Lair, the video game, which I absolutely loved. I spent a lot of my allowance money throwing quarters into that game. Pretty awesome. I heard they're making a movie of it too.
Yeah,
But
with Ryan Reynolds, I think.
Slayer. Dude, Reynolds is Dirk the Daring. What a ridiculous thing, right? That's why it'll probably work. Um the Dragon Slayer. It was an old fantasy. Actually, I believe Disney produced that movie.
Are you talking about the
That
live
was my
one, action one with Peter O'Neill?
yeah, the one with the dragon scale shield and the wizard and stuff and the Wizard's Apprentice. I loved that movie. That was my big intro into fantasy. Didn't like that little dragon though. That once dragon was eating the bullet stuff. Cool. But I like that whole thing about going back to kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like the little person, like the little guy. Hey, the big boss kicked the bucket. Now it's on me. I've gotta help deal with this threat. And I was like, I'm in no position to kill no dragon. What am I gonna do, right?
That classic kind of Luke Skywalker or Wheel of Time, that farm boy.
Yeah, it's bigger than me, but now it's got to be me, kind of a thing, right? Yeah, those type of that story just intrigued me and eventually drew me in, and I was like, wait a minute. When I eventually got into basic D&D, I was like, hey, can I do this? Oh, you're not high enough level there for that, but we can, you can be like a hobbit or a halfling. I was like, oh yeah, like Frodo. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that.
You can eventually work up to that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was probably my gateway, and just eventually led to many things, many other discoveries that kind of just continued to propel my love of role playing games in general, but particularly of Dungeons and Dragons through the age of now. I'm in my 50s, and I'm still I'm finally able to indulge a game in a way that I just wasn't able to growing up or while I was in the service, and that's grown into community service too, which is, me personally, as somebody with a helper's heart, I couldn't ask for anything better. And to be surrounded by people that not only help me but help others, help others in the community, and help the community thrive.
Well, Marcello, this has been fantastic. This has been a far better interview than I even anticipated, and I knew it was going to be a good one. Thanks for sitting down with me. Thanks for listening. And if anyone that wants to check out Marcello's work, you can certainly just Google his name. If not, I'll give a link to some of his DMsGuild stuff. I don't think there's just like a link tree unfortunately, of your stuff. But if you want to come check him out in action, there's PrezCon, or you could come check them out. I'm assuming at NewtCon this October for sure.
Yep. I am the organizer for D&D there too.
Nice.
So we're going to be providing some wonderful experiences for those that want to participate. That too, and we're also going to be running some other wonderful RPGs and have a couple of other experiences to indulge pretty much every our community. So come on out, support the community, come on out and meet other players, and hopefully that can lead to more experiences for everyone.
Exactly. As always, though, the best way to say thanks to this podcast is share the episode, like, comment, the jazz, everybody. Leave a quick review if you're on Spotify or any other platform. But until next time, everybody. Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.